So anyway, you're shoved out of your place of comfort, and you start crying. And then you're handed to your mom, and then she holds you, and then you stop crying. And that's usually when your mom's crying begins, which is ironic. When your crying stops, that's when her crying begins. And the crying is probably a whole mix of emotions. It's joy that you're in the world. It's nervousness and fear about what could happen to you. It's anxiety about how best now to raise you. It's also probably a cry of terror, because now you're responsible for the whole life of another creature. And of course, as you grow older, the parent's job at that point is to make you independent of them. So that's that first act of pushing you out and pushing you away, the first act of pushing you towards independence. Because as dark as it sounds, it's just a truth about life. You're not always going to have your parents. The people who come into your life are largely there, especially for the first couple of decades. They're largely there to teach you to not need them anymore. Yeah, it's just spiteful. I'm going to rename your bunny. I'm going to take what you presently have. I'm going to rename it and act like it's mine. Wait, never mind. That's how the country got founded. Never mind. I had a class a couple of days ago get mad at me because I explained to them that Columbus was an immigrant who brought diversity to America. They didn't see it that way. I wonder why they get mad at me. Others. Yeah, all of those are accurate. And yeah, you can see this as talk about romantic relationships. I see that. I mean, any relationship at all. I was talking during second period today. I see them on Instagram all the time from people. They'll post about their mom's birthday, and it's always like a picture of mom smiling. It's like, my queen, Mirena. She's the strongest woman I know, which usually tells me something, by the way, about. I'll leave it at that. It tells you something about their. And then they'll say, very next sentence, even though we argue and fight, or even though you drive me crazy. I don't know why we feel the need to do that. As soon as they say, even though this, it's always that thing, you drive me crazy, or we argue and we fight. And then finally they get to the point of saying, but at the end of the day, I love you more than anybody. And somehow that's supposed to be a good thing. What about the other 23 hours of the day, I always find that people, it wouldn't just be better to get along during all those 24 hours. And so, yeah, it fulfills any kind of a love, even like a newborn. Newborns can't really love the same way that everybody else can love, because if you're dependent on people, you can't love them, because you're too tied to them, like for something. Like when you're first born, you can't really choose to love your mom or not, because you need to eat. And as you're growing up, you really can't choose to love your parents yet, because you need to have shelter, you need to have clothing and all that. But more than anything, you can't really love until you have the ability to think outside of yourself. And there's probably nothing that more expresses that than like mom and child love. And think about what the first act of being born was, or what maybe the first emotional impact you'd have had being born, if you could really process it. It was being pushed away from a comfortable place, a place that you've known for your whole life, ever since you're a little zygote. And then you're pushed out and away, and then what do? You cry. And why are you crying? Because it's confusing. It's a bunch that's happening. You're not sure where you are. You're away from mom. You're cold. Your entire life has changed. It's actually weird. Think about that. If you're conscious at that age, what is your whole world? It's a space that's only about like this big relative to you. It's like you were born and you're living in a cave. And then all of a sudden you get shoved out of that cave, and then you see a much broader world that you had some indication of earlier, because when you're in utero, you can hear sound. You can recognize your parents' voices when you're in utero. In fact, we understand now that you start learning language when you're still inside of your mom's womb. You hear the sounds, you hear the vibrations, and there's a hard wiring in our brains where we start to recognize that sound the sounds that are being made as language. And you start to hyper focus on one language, whichever language is spoken the most around you, whatever you hear the most. So anyway, you're shoved out of your place of comfort, and you start crying. And then you're handed to your mom, and you hold her, and then she holds you, and then you stop crying. And that's usually when your mom's crying begins, which is ironic. When your crying stops, that's when her crying begins. And the crying is probably a whole mix of emotions. It's joy that you're in the world. It's nervousness and fear about what could happen to you. It's anxiety about how best now to raise you. It's also probably a cry of terror, because now you're responsible for the whole life of another creature. It's all kinds of things. But at that moment, at least you're resting quietly. Then, of course, as you grow older, the parent's job at that point is to make you independent of them. So that's that first act of pushing you out, pushing you away, is the first act towards pushing you towards independence. It's the first act of pushing you towards independence. So now you have to, even though you're fed and everything, as you grow older, the parent's job is to make you as independent as possible. Because as dark as it sounds, it's just a truth about life. You're not always going to have your parents. The people who come into your life are largely there, especially for the first couple of decades. They're largely there to teach you to not need them anymore. The purpose of having a math teacher is not just to teach you how to do algebra. It's to teach you how to think as an algebraist, so that you don't have to have them anymore. Now, if you were going to continue in math, you would have the basic foundation. Now you don't need them anymore. You're independent of your teacher. The purpose of having this class is to make you independent of this teacher. It's one of the reasons that when I give you guys the call slips, sometimes I'll have students who stare at it, and they come up and they go, "Oh, when do I go?" Or "Where do I go?" Or "What's this?" And some of you know my answer to that is always, "I don't know. I didn't read your mail, dude. I just saw your name on it and handed it to you. Well, what am I supposed to do?" And I never tell you. I always say, "Figure it out. Read it. It'll tell you. I don't read your mail." And a lot of times people get annoyed by that. "Oh, no, I'm such a jerk about it. Why do I tell you that?" Because you're not always going to have me. What are you going to do? A year from now, 2 years from now, you get a letter from the city in the mail. You're going to hit me up "Hey, Scallon, I got this letter from the city. What does it say? What am I supposed to do? Where do I go?" No, you're supposed to be independent of all of that. But I understand it. I'm not chastising you for that. I understand it. For the last 12 years of your life, you've been given a schedule. You've been told where to go, what time to be there. You've even been told where you're going to sit, who you're going to sit next to, what you're going to be working on next. And then all of a sudden, one day you're going to graduate in a few months, cross the stage, and all of that support system is gone. Now it's like, okay, hope you're ready. So that's a good question. Have we made you independent, or have we created a certain level of dependency from you? And there's something to be said about that. Like, think about this as when you're no longer a dependent on your parents, when you move out and you're gone. Think about it, from their perspective. It's got to be a crushing thing. For the last 18, 20, however many years it's going to be for them, they have a meaning and they have a purpose, which is to raise you, to be there for you. Even if you don't feel like it, that's still what their whole goal is. And over the last few years, it's probably more hands-off, more backing off, more letting you do your thing. But think about that. If you have a certain meaning and a purpose for 20 years of your life, and all of a sudden one day, boom, it's gone. And that's what they go through. And then in our minds, it's like, "Oh my God, I just can't wait to get away from them. I can't stand them. They drive me crazy." And I don't know, have any of you ever wondered if you do the same? And I don't mean like, "Oh, I drive my mom crazy," but like, actually, your parents just don't like you as a person. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying it's worth thinking about. Like when people talk to me about their kids, a lot of times I ask them, friends of mine, "Do you like your kid?" Like if they weren't your kid, and you just ran across them at McDonald's or something like that, would you like them? Would you think that they were? Would you look at them and go, "Oh man, if I have kids someday, my kid will never be like this one"? Or do you say, "Perfect, doing a great job"? And I don't know. I'm not saying it's one way or the other. But it's something to think about for parents. Are you raising somebody who you actually like? And you can love somebody without liking them. You can care deeply and take deep responsibility for somebody without necessarily liking who they are, or how they behave. And yet, even in that, there's a type of love that's there. It takes discipline, of course. It takes willpower to do these things. Anything that's worth doing is not going to be easy. But understand that these things are reciprocal. So any kind of a love, man. You have, like I said, you have friends who you're angry and can't stand. They drive you crazy. You have family members. You have neighbors. You have, teachers. You have parents. Oh, any kind of relationship that you're going to be in. It's not even just love. It's just any of these things. Just take all of that to navigate. And so, I guess there's a word for that. Maturity. I've read. So, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Dope. Happy Thursday.